Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to St. Matthew's and to this concert in the Friday Lenten series. I am Bob Troeger. We welcome you for many reasons, mostly because we are back finally again to assembling together in one place, happily without having to be distanced so much and wearing masks. And I think in this Lenten season we can give thanks for many things, and that is one of them for sure. I commend to you the other concerts in our series that are coming up. We have two remaining ones for the Friday Lenten series. And then also this coming Sunday evening, we have a service of choral compline in the Taizé tradition. So if that is something that you have a curiosity about or know something about, and even if you don't, please consider yourself invited and come to that. The service lasts about 45 to 50 minutes or so. In addition, of course, we are heavily promoting our concert for Ukraine, which is a week from this coming Tuesday, the 5th of April. It is looking like it will be a grand celebration of life and of tradition and of solidarity. And so we invite you certainly to come back for that and to take part in what we will do that day. I would be remiss in not mentioning that this evening at 6 p.m. we are installing or instituting our new rector, Father Josh Sachs, here in a wonderful service. And so you're welcome to come to that as well. That is going to be grand and glorious, and that is at 6 p.m. Just a word about some of the music for today. These are some of my favorites from over the years. And the first two I will talk about quickly. The Chorale in A minor by Franck and the Passion Chorale set beautifully by 20th century composer Leo Sowerby. Chorales, of course, are something that Protestants take really as part of their wonderful musical tradition. We thank people like Martin Luther and others for having made it possible for people those many hundreds of years ago to sing and pray in their own language. So the Passion Chorale, for example, and other chorales such as Lo, How a Rose Are Blooming, and many, many, many others are part of that great tradition. But this was not the tradition, of course, in the Catholic countries such as France. And César Franck, who was an 19th century composer, certainly knew all of the Bach tradition, even though he himself was not a Protestant. He knew the chorales, and he knew, because they had become really part and parcel of the grand Western music tradition. And so he decided to write his own version of a chorale. Actually, he wrote three of them, and this is the third one in the series. And what I'd like to do to show you sort of how he has done this, and I'm not saying that there is a direct correlation, but I'm going to play just the beginning of the Passion Chorale for you, and then I'm going to play the beginning of Franck's chorale, and I want you to see if there isn't really just a little bit of similarity there. Of course, it was not something that necessarily audiences from a Catholic tradition would have understood quite as much, just a very beautiful, big-scaled symphonic piece on the organ. And so I will follow that with Sowerby's very beautiful setting for organ, which he wrote for the organ at the National Cathedral in Washington. Again, thanks for coming. Thank you very much. I don't know if you know much of the music of Sowerby, but he was a truly great composer of American music, including incorporating some beautiful jazz harmonies that you would not necessarily expect to find in church music of that time, but very, very poignantly expressed in that Passion Chorale setting. The last three that I'll play for you today, the Symphonie Gothique is one of maybe 10 or so symphonies that Charles-Marie Widor wrote, the most famous movement of which is the Toccata from Symphony No. 5. And this piece I'm going to play right now is probably the antithesis of that. In other words, it doesn't quite dazzle and use up a lot of airspace in terms of quick and fast-moving notes. It is, however, I believe, his very best piece. It is something that composers, of course, always reckon with. You know, what are my best pieces? What do I feel are my best pieces? And then other people say, well, I think your best piece is this. In my case, in my humble opinion, this Andante sostenuto is Widor's real small masterpiece. And it is a favorite of many, many, many people, and has been used on many different occasions. And I'll just tell you of one of them. Our family has a slight connection to the family of Fred and Joanne Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood fame. And Mr. Rogers was, of course, a very fine musician and a composer in his own right. And he requested this particular piece to be played at his memorial service by one of his young colleagues. And when I heard that that had been the case, I thought, I'm on the right track. I like this piece too. So it is really a very beautiful work. Then the last two pieces have a little bit of a connection to our Ukrainian and I dare also say our Russian brothers and sisters. Helen Gossard is my aunt. She was my mother's sister and responsible for all of the early musical training that I had from very early age. On the piano. She was a concert pianist and taught for many years at first the Carnegie Institute of Technology and then Carnegie Mellon University. And during the time that she was also a student at that institution, there was a Russian composition teacher by the name of Nikolai Lopotnikov, and I remember meeting him. In fact, I've played some of his piano works as well, but he actually taught her composition. And she, like many of the women and men of their era, were very enamored of the Russian sound, the way that the Russians were, especially in the post-Bolshevik era, really articulating and expressing music in very elemental terms, and sometimes very tragic terms, of course. And the music of Rachmaninoff is totally imbued with all of that. At any rate, this was a piece that she wrote for, I believe it was a concert of compositions, and which came under scrutiny by him, and he gave the thumbs up on it. It is, however, it does have a tragic sound to it, and it is, however, something that, although we understand the indomitability of the Ukrainian people, we cannot forget what it is that they're actually going through. And so this piece kind of gets to that level with that. And it is actually a piano piece, so I'll be coming over to play that on the piano. And then lastly, the Toccata by Georgi Mushel is a Russian, it's actually a Ukrainian Cossack dance that he wrote because although he had been trained at the Moscow Conservatory to write all traditional sort of Western forms, operas, symphonies, etc., he was nevertheless fascinated by the music of the folk music of the countries of the Balkans and the further eastern countries such as Georgia and Uzbekistan. In fact, he at one point moved to the city of Tashkent in Uzbekistan, specifically so that he could absorb the wonderful, inventive sounds that would come from their native music, and of course, all based on the dance. Totally Georgian. Many of the countries in the Caucasus region are all just shot through with wonderful dance spirit. And this piece, I think, helps us get back to what I'd say the celebration of life in this. And so I'm going to be playing it on our Concert for Ukraine as well. So this is the test flight today. But anyway, again, thank you for coming. We're sorry we cannot be offering you luncheon today. We hope that next year we'll be able to do that. But please do avail yourself of the other opportunities that I've mentioned before, and especially the one on April the 5th. Thanks.